6 ancient temples, carved from single, unbroken pieces of solid rock. No seams, no joints, no assembly required. Just raw mountain transformed into architectural perfection that modern engineers still cannot fully explain. What if everything you were taught about history is wrong? Right now, somewhere in India, a temple sits inside a pit 30 meters deep, carved downward into the earth, not built upward from it. And the math doesn't work. The logistics don't work. By every calculation we have, it shouldn't exist. But it does. Welcome back. Today we're not talking about theories. We're not talking about CGI reconstructions or artists' impressions. Every single site in this video is real. You can visit them. You can touch the walls. You can run your fingers along cuts so precise they could have been made yesterday. These are structures that are sitting right now in the physical world, defying every explanation modern science has offered. And in 2026, scientists are more confused than ever. By the end of this video, you will not just question history. You will question everything you thought you knew about human capability, about ancient civilization, and about who or what actually built our world. Stay with me, because what comes at number 1 will change the way you see this planet forever. Temple 1, the Kailasa Temple, Ellora, India. Picture this, it's 1819. A British officer named John Smith is on a hunting expedition in the Deccan Plateau of Maharashtra, India. He's chasing game through dense jungle when he stumbles onto something that stops him cold. A cliff face, but not a natural one. Carved into it, carved from it, is a temple so massive, so impossibly detailed, that he reportedly stood in silence for several minutes before he could speak. He had just rediscovered the Kailasa Temple. Here are the numbers, and they will shock you. The Kailasa Temple is not built, it is excavated. Engineers who have studied the site estimate that to create this structure, ancient workers would have had to remove approximately 200,000 tons of rock from the surrounding mountain. 200,000 tons. And they didn't build from the bottom up. They carved from the top down, meaning every single decision about proportion, depth, and structural integrity had to be made in the correct sequence, with zero margin for error. You cannot go back. You cannot add rock you've already removed. The temple stretches 164 feet long, 109 feet wide, and 100 feet tall. It contains intricately carved elephants supporting the entire structure along its base, each one life-sized, each one different, each one carved from the same single piece of rock as the walls above them. It contains galleries, shrines, halls, and a central tower dedicated to the Hindu god Shiva, all cut from one unbroken volcanic basalt mountain. Modern archaeologists estimate this project would have taken, at minimum, 7,000 workers laboring simultaneously for 150 years to complete using only iron chisels and hammers. But here's what the engineers won't say on camera. In 2018, a team of structural analysts from a European university ran a simulation. They modeled the Kailasa excavation using the best iron tools available in 8th century India. The simulation suggested the timeline would be closer to 400 years, longer than the entire duration of the Roman Empire at its peak, and yet inscriptions at the site suggest it was completed within a single reign. One king, one generation. This should not exist, but it does. Temple 2, the shore. Temple complex, Mahabalipuram, India. Now, most people know the shore temple at Mahabalipuram as a beautiful, weather-worn structure sitting right at the edge of the Bay of Bengal in Tamil Nadu. But in 2004, something extraordinary happened that rewrote everything we thought we knew about this site. The Indian Ocean tsunami struck on December 26th. The waves were catastrophic, but as the water pulled back from the shore with terrifying force, It revealed something that had been hidden beneath the ocean for over 1,000 years. Fishermen reported seeing stone walls, columns, carved figures emerging from the receding water. Divers were sent in, and what they found was staggering. Beneath the waves, extending hundreds of meters into the sea, were the ruins of additional structures, temples, carved from the same single continuous granite formations as the shore temple above. Ancient Tamil texts had long described a legendary city called the Seven Pagodas, a complex of 7 temples so magnificent that the gods themselves were jealous and sank them beneath the sea. Scholars had dismissed this as mythology for centuries. The tsunami proved them wrong. The granite used in these structures is among the hardest stone on Earth, rating between 6 and 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Iron tools of the period, the tools we assume were used, max out at a hardness of around 5. You cannot effectively carve granite with iron, not to this precision, not at this scale. And yet the cutting marks on the submerged stones are clean, straight, consistent, with tolerances measured in millimeters across surfaces spanning dozens of meters. India's National Institute of Ocean Technology confirmed the underwater discoveries in 2005. A structure that was supposedly myth had just been proven real, and it had been hiding in plain sight, beneath the ocean, waiting for a disaster to reveal it. This should not exist, but it does. Temple 3, the Pancha rathas, 5 chariots of the gods. Still at Mahabalipuram, but this time above ground, there is a cluster of 5 extraordinary monolithic structures known as the pancha rathas, the 5 chariots. And I want you to understand something critical before I describe them. Each one is carved from a single, separate boulder, not assembled, not constructed, sculpted. From the outside in, like someone peeling away everything that wasn't a temple to reveal the temple hidden inside. The largest of the 5, the Dharmaraja Ratha, stands over 35 feet tall and contains multiple stories, decorative pilasters, narrative friezes, and a pyramidal tower, all from one stone. The architectural detailing rivals anything produced in classical Greece or Rome. But this wasn't Rome. This was the 7th century. And this was done without wheels, without pulleys, without scaffolding. At least none that we can account for, because archaeologists have found zero evidence of construction infrastructure at the site. No ramps, no tool deposits, no staging areas, nothing. In fact, the ground around the Pancharathas shows no evidence of the massive debris field that removing hundreds of tons of granite would inevitably create. So either the debris was completely cleared, an enormous task in itself, or the granite was removed in a way we don't understand. An engineering professor who studied the site in 2022 told his students something that ended up going viral on academic forums. He said, "If I gave a team of modern stonemasons unlimited budget, the best pneumatic tools available, and a year to replicate just one of these structures from a comparable granite boulder, I'm not sure they could do it. This should not exist, but it does. If you're enjoying these forbidden discoveries, now is the time. Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We post new, mind-bending videos every single week. And trust me, what's coming up next in this list is something that no other channel has covered in depth. Don't miss it. Temple 4. Cave Temples of Ajanta, the Impossible Interiors. 2 hours north of the Kailasa Temple, there is another UNESCO World Heritage Site that raises questions the academic world would rather not answer out loud. The Ajanta Cave Temples. 30 caves carved into a horseshoe-shaped cliff face, each one containing paintings and sculptures of breathtaking beauty and precision. But it's not the art that confuses engineers, it's the engineering. The caves were carved to precise geometric specifications. The columns are load-bearing. which means the ancient architects understood exactly how much weight each column needed to support, and how thick to make it, before a single cut was made. Remove a column incorrectly, and the ceiling collapses. The caves are still standing after nearly 2,000 years, but here's the detail that stops structural engineers cold: the interior lighting. The caves go deep, some extend over 50 meters into the cliff. And yet, the ancient paintings deep inside these caves are rendered in extraordinary detail. Microscopic analysis of the pigments confirms they are original, meaning ancient artists painted in near total darkness, at depth, with a level of precision that modern restorers describe as superhuman. How did they see? How did they light the space without leaving soot deposits on the painted ceilings, which analysis has confirmed are almost entirely absent? One hypothesis involves a system of polished metal mirrors positioned to redirect sunlight deep into the caves. This would require precise angular calculations, precise mirror positioning, and precise architectural planning, all before a single chisel touched the rock. Another hypothesis involves something we don't have a name for yet. In 2026, a team studying ajanta using new hyperspectral imaging discovered microgrooves in the cave walls consistent with channels that could have directed reflected light in a controlled beam. The grooves are too small to have been accidental, too consistent to be natural. This should not exist, but it does. Temple 5, the Varaha Cave. Temple, a single rock face, an impossible canvas. Still in Mahabalipuram, because this coastal site keeps giving, the Varaha Cave Temple contains a series of bas-relief panels that have baffled art historians for 2 centuries. The panels depict scenes from Hindu mythology with hundreds of individual figures, each anatomically distinct, each in dynamic motion, each with different facial expressions, all carved in continuous relief from one unbroken granite wall. No figure is identical. No proportion is repeated. The depth of carving varies continuously, giving the panels a 3-dimensional quality that creates its own internal shadows depending on the angle of sunlight. This is the technique, atmospheric perspective through controlled depth variation, that European Renaissance masters spent generations developing. It appears here in granite, somewhere around the 7th century CE. But what makes the Varaha panels scientifically disturbing is something only discovered recently. When researchers applied photogrammetry scanning, a technique using thousands of overlapping photographs to build a precise 3D model, they found that the spatial relationships between figures across the entire wall panel are mathematically consistent. Meaning, the ancient sculptor maintained perfect proportional relationships across a surface spanning over 15 meters, without a coordinate grid, without measurement tools we can identify, and without being able to step back and see the whole composition while carving it. The math is exact. The geometry is deliberate. And no one can explain how a human eye and hand maintained that consistency, working close up on one of the hardest stones on Earth. This should not exist, but it does. Quick pause. Drop your country in the comments right now. Where in the world are you watching this from? I read every single comment, and it genuinely helps the algorithm push this video to more people who need to see what we're uncovering together. I'll be responding down there after we finish. Temple 6, the Undavalli Caves, Vishnu, on a single stone couch, Andhra Pradesh, India, the 4th or 5th century CE, and a carving so audacious, so technically demanding, that it reads less like ancient art and more like a dare. The Undavalli Caves contain on their top floor a massive reclining figure of Lord Vishnu, carved entirely from a single sandstone monolith. The figure is approximately 24 feet long, reclining, in a posture of cosmic sleep called Anantashayana. The details of the figure, fingernails, individual strands of the headdress, anatomically accurate musculature are carved at a resolution that requires magnification to fully appreciate. But the technical challenge is this: the figure is positioned inside a chamber. The chamber walls and ceiling are carved from the same continuous stone. To create this, ancient sculptors had to hollow out an interior space precise enough to house a 24-foot figure, without cracking the surrounding rock, without losing structural integrity, and without being able to physically step back and assess their work in full until the very last cut was made. Modern sculptors who have studied the undavalli figure describe the project as requiring simultaneous knowledge of architecture, structural engineering, anatomical sculpture, and material science. One American sculptor who visited the site in 2023 wrote in his blog that after an hour of examining the carving, he sat down and said out loud, "I couldn't do this. With my tools, with my training, I couldn't do this." The sandstone used is a sedimentary rock that fractures unpredictably. Working at this scale, in this medium, with this precision, the margin for catastrophic error on each cut is enormous. One wrong strike and a 24-foot masterpiece becomes rubble. They didn't make that mistake. This should not exist, but it does. The closing truth and the 2026 update. Here's what all 6 of these temples have in common, and I want you to sit with this. None of them were built. All of them were revealed. The rock was always there. The temple was always inside it. Ancient hands removed everything that wasn't the temple, with a precision, at a scale, and with a methodology that we are still trying to reverse engineer in 2026. Our ancestors did not need aliens. They did not need outside intervention. What they had, what we are only now beginning to rediscover, was a mastery of material, geometry, and cognitive engineering so complete that it operated in dimensions we have stopped measuring. We measure construction by inputs: how many workers, what tools, how many years. Ancient builders may have been measuring something else entirely: acoustic resonance in stone, solar alignment as a structural tool, community memory as a form of architectural blueprint passed through generations not in writing, but in the hands of master craftsmen. In 2026, 3 separate research institutions, one in Germany, one in Japan, one in the United States, have begun what they're calling the Ancient Precision Project. They are applying artificial intelligence and LiDAR scanning to these exact sites. The preliminary data, leaked to academic forums in January of this year, suggests that the geometric relationships between temples at Mahabalipuram are not random. They form a coherent spatial matrix, a designed relationship between structures that requires a top-down aerial understanding of the site, a top-down aerial view in the 7th century. The story they never told you is not that aliens built these temples. The story they never told you is that human beings, your ancestors, my ancestors, were capable of things we've been quietly convinced are impossible. And the reason that's been hidden isn't a conspiracy. It's simpler than that. It's because if the ancient world was this sophisticated, then everything we believe about the trajectory of human civilization has to be rewritten. Every textbook, every timeline, every assumption about who we are and where we came from. And that is a conversation that changes everything. So here's my question to you, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments. Out of these 6 impossible temples, which one shook you the most? The Kailasa Temple and its 200,000 tons of removed rock? The submerged city of Mahabalipuram revealed by a tsunami? The undavalli sculptor who never made a single catastrophic mistake on 24 feet of fracture-prone sandstone? Drop it below. Right now. The temple that gets the most comments becomes our next full deep dive video. You decide what we uncover next. And if this video made you see the ancient world differently, share it with one person. Just one. someone who thinks they know history. Let's see what they say after they watch this. The past is not behind us. It's beneath our feet, carved in stone, waiting to be understood. We'll see you in the next one.